Something that has to be understood, especially when you're in government and when we're talking about the issue of marriage. Marriage is very important because, and I'll say this, and this is actually, I don't even know why this is oftentimes so offensive to people, but the only way a baby can be born is between a mom and a dad, a man and a woman. No other way can it be done. So, anybody ever heard of natural law? That's natural law. You can't create another baby outside of a mom and a dad coming together, right? So that's the first part. And that's what we have to understand. That's just nature. That's the way it works. And so with that being the laws of nature, any legislation that is proposed should be in favor of that law of nature, should be in defense of it, in preservation of that law of nature, right? I'll give you an example here. Gravity is not really controversial, other than the fact that if you're standing on the side of a building, somebody says, don't jump off, you'll get hurt, you'll probably die because you're like 10 stories up, right? And so you fall off. Well, you're not really going to be able to fight the laws of nature, right? That gravity, unless you have like a wingsuit, something to use to make yourself fly. So there's that. That can't be done with marriage. It just can't be done. And what has to be understood with these, again, I'm going to go back to these 2 points. You have civil unions, and then you have the consummation of the actual marriage itself, when a man and a woman come together. And I really want to drive that point home because it's really important. There's a lot of young people today that aren't being taught that, especially in schools across the United States, even here in New Hampshire, right? What we have to do as a people is come together and begin to recognize what is a family unit, right? What does a family look like? And I know that there's a lot of discussions. I'm sure a lot of you on Facebook. There's a lot of discussions on Twitter, Facebook, and churches and whatnot everywhere, where people say, "Well, as long as they love them, that's totally fine, right?" So if you have 2 people of the same sex who are adopting a kid, or whatever, that's fine and whatnot. Across the board, it's not helpful. It's also just as not helpful to have a kid in an orphanage, right? Across the board, kids need a mom and a dad. They desperately need a mom and a dad. And when we begin to destroy that foundation, when we begin to rip the carpet out from underneath that foundation, we begin to see the same types of results that we see here in America today. And I'm going to explain this just briefly. You can look at every single solitary issue that's going on here in America today, every one of them. Mark my words, every single issue. It is all linked back right to the family. And you might ask yourself, well, Josh, that's kind of ridiculous, you know? What do wars have to do with kids, or the fiscal policy have to do with mom and dad? Well, I'm going to simply and briefly, it's more to this, but lay it out as quickly as I can. Mom and dad say they raise a young boy, and they say, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I'm not going to force anything down your throat. That's whatever, no biggie. You're just, we'll make sure you're provided for. You have a roof over your head. You got bacon and eggs when you get home in the morning, and blah, 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 this and right there. So they go through the motions, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 years of age. Well, by the time that young boy has grown into a young man, and mom and dad haven't taught morals, principles, given a firm foundation of belief for that young man is now going to go out and talk to his friends. And his friends are going to say, well, this is what I believe, right? I believe this or that. And today you see what's socialism. You see a lot of different policies that are coming out where there's bigger government. And when I say bigger government, I mean across the board. When it's involved in marriage and moral issues, it's involved in a number of different things where it doesn't belong. And so what happens to young kids is they're raised in this, and then they go, you know what? That's right, I should do something about this. I'm going to run for Congress, or I'm going to get involved in politics, and then you fast forward 10 years, and now they're appointed to a public office in Washington, D.C., helping to decide what foreign policy or fiscal policy looks like. And now they're basing that foreign or fiscal policy on the worldview that their mom and dad did not solidify for them and help provide them and give them, right? And so that's in a nutshell how this works, and you can apply that to every single solitary issue. And that's the deal here. And what has to happen is we have to begin to come back to the family. We have to begin to understand understand, what does it mean to be a mom and a dad? Well, I can tell you from what I know. Now, I'm not a father yet. I'm going to be upfront with you about that. I'm not a father yet. I will be one day. I look forward to it. But what is the purpose of a mom and a dad? A mom and dad are supposed to provide the foundation for the young man, the little girl, and the little boy that's now their child. They're to be raised with a foundation where they're taught how to critically think. What is morality? What are the principles that guide mankind? What are the principles that keep unification in a society and provide a solid foundation for a culture to thrive and prosper and build a government that is not too big, right? But not in complete anarchy either, where it's centralized just enough for people to be able to thrive in prosperity and flourish and love one another. And now this term, love, comes out, right? How many of you love? Good. Every hand should go up. Really. Love is so important because, well, I think y'all know why love is important. It hits right at the home. It hits right at the heart of everything that goes on. And what has to happen here in America, there has to be a heart shift. There has to be a heart change in the people. And we have to begin to come back to our roots and what our founders intended in this nation, especially when it comes to morality, because what we see now are decades of destruction of the family. And by the way, I'll say this too, because we're talking tonight not just about the LGBT issue, right? We're not just talking about that. We're talking about restoring the family. Sodomy across the board is wrong. I'm a firm believer in not even sleeping outside of marriage. Now, try that one. Try telling, as a 30-year-old man, try going around talking about, well, I don't talk about it, but when you go out on a date, somebody goes, have you been with anybody? No. Then go, what's wrong with you? I don't believe in that at all. That's also just as destructive to a family, because what we don't understand in our culture today is the ripple effect. That one simple decision that you make ripples across the land, and that land is your life. And it's important to understand that. It really, really is. And one thing that we have to begin to turn back to in our nation, we have to turn back our eyes back to our Creator too. That really has to happen, guys, because our founding fathers, and I'm going to tell you this much, and I'll kind of come to a close here so we can go through some Q&A, and perhaps Hal would like to throw something in as well before we go into that. But when we're looking back at the founding fathers, John Adams has a quote, and every time I watch the news or whatever, and I'm seeing this happen, and engagement on the news, I look at it and I go, oh my gosh. People say, why are we not unified? We're so divided as a country. And John Adams said, the Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to any other form of government. And what John Adams essentially said is, if you have a people that don't have a moral code and they don't have a foundation in society, they're not going to care about that piece of document that you call the Constitution. They'll just go into anarchy. Because if you have a standard for law and morality, guess what you have? No standard at all. You have absolutely no standard. So at that point, everything is relative. Everything is relative at that point. So what makes you better than me, right? Or me better than you, or whatever. That's the conversation that people start having, and that's where we're at today. And that's where we have to begin to shift and change. And that's why we're having this conversation tonight. But it's so important. And I want to make this very, very clear to folks. I love everybody. I disagree with a lot of people, but I love everybody. And that's why I'm here tonight. I wanted to bring this conversation and the Patriot Initiative to bring this conversation to the people and to talk about it. Because it's not being done. It's not being done. And by the way, I appreciate everybody who is in opposition to this to come out tonight. That's wonderful. That is excellent. That's what we need to begin to have that discussion, because nobody else is doing this. There's no one else doing this at all. So we have to begin to have this conversation. We have to hash it out, talk about it in a respectful, civil manner. But again, it's important. And how many you follow, right? How many kids do you have? 5. And you have grandkids? 1 grandkid. Great. How many of you have kids or grandkids in here? Excellent. Great. They're so important. They are so important to our future. Do you agree with that? Whether or not you agree with me on this issue, do you agree that your kids are important to the future of this nation?
Yes.
Every hand should go up and every head should be nodding. That's right. No, it's true. So I want to kind of leave that with you, but I also want to cover one more quick thing too. You have if you didn't grab a sheet of paper, there's some information on the packet that is back there on the table. And there's two definitions there that we provided on marriage and the term gay. And they've been completely redefined today. Because again, that's going to go back to what I said a minute ago. Gay meant jovial, happy, joyful. That was such a good term, right? And marriage itself is the consummation of the act between a man and a woman. The intimacy. It's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. That's how we flourish. It's be fruitful and multiply. That's what we're supposed to do. But when we allow immorality to step in, right, we completely abolish that foundation. And that's where we're at today. And if you disagree, totally fine. You're about to get a fantastic opportunity to challenge that and ask me and myself for how questions. Totally cool with that. But I want to leave that with you guys. And again, we definitely appreciate you coming out, for sure. So, how, if you don't have anything, do you have anything to offer, any extra tidbits? No, not at this point. Okay. So, what we'll do is kind of yield it over to you. And what I'm going to do here real quick. Testing. All right. And Tim back here with the green shirt is going to take the mic and pass it around. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask it. And by the way, since we are in, because how many of you know, have you ever been to a political event? Stay right there, Tim. Have you ever been to a political event before for your candidate or whoever you agree with? And you know this, the old saying, it's like, ask any hard question you want. Well, that's easy to say when you're in a crowd that's friendly to you. Ask any hard question you want. We'll take every question you got. Totally fine. Just be respectful, be civil, and which I trust would happen. So, anyway, here you go. All right. Sorry.
Crop TV.